Hey everybody, this is our first lesson, official lesson in physical geography class. I don't know whether Junior, he's down here in front. Yes, you're a good boy. Junior's going to learn too, right along with y'all. And Harry and Lulu are going crazy, barking at something. So we're just going to try to make it through all the noise and get our notes and our first general understanding of what it is and why we're here today. Why are we in this class and what are we going to learn? And so let me start with this part of our board behind me. Just the word geography in general. This is a huge field. That's what this lecture essentially is going to be about. How huge, all-encompassing geography and the study of geography is. First of all, if you thought we were just going to have a whole bunch of maps and say this is here and that's there and etc., we're going to do some of that, of course. Yes, you have to know how to interpret the map and how we portray the world in a visual format that we can understand. But what we first have to know is some general ideas, general concepts about geography and how it differs from other disciplines that you have on your degree plan. So in general, the term geography, the geo part of the word geography, means the Earth. It's the planet that we're on. And so since Earth is a planet, one of the things that we're going to cover in a geography class is the solar system itself and the relationship that the Earth has to everything else in the solar system. And so even though we are covering physical geography in this class together, we have to understand its place in the stars, right? Our place in the stars. And so geography is a huge field, and studying the Earth is more than just immediately what's under our feet, what we're standing on under our feet. Studying the Earth means everything around us, the situation that the Earth is in. And so that's the first part. Geo literally means Earth, but it's more than just, it's huge. We're going to get into that. It's huge about that. Okay. So the graphy part, there's lots of words with graphy on the end of it. Biography, for instance, is the story of a person, the story of a life. And so this geography, anytime you see this suffix on the end of the word, I'm pointing at the graphy part of geography. We're talking about drawing the Earth or telling the story of the Earth, portraying the Earth. That's the name of one of our chapters that's coming up pretty quickly, and we're going to cover that. So essentially, when we're studying geography, we want to describe everything that we can about the Earth and in an effort to understand it. And stop and ponder that for just a second. We want to understand everything we can about the Earth in an effort to understand it. This is huge, right? I mean, think about everything that happens and goes on the Earth, from us, people, to the microbes that we can't see, and to the particles of dust, and to the ocean currents and this kind of thing, and the phases of the moon that affect the ocean, and all this kind of stuff. And so there is an enormous breadth, enormous, huge amount of information. My vocabulary is failing me here. There's a huge amount of information that we need to study in order to understand the Earth in general. And it's too much. It's too much to have in just one class. And so anyway, I have on the board back here, this is huge, right? So the study of the Earth is huge, and we, not because the planet itself is the largest or the smallest or anything like that, but because there's so many different facets, and we'll get to that in just a second with this board that's behind me here. So geography is a holistic discipline, meaning that we have to approach, holism is the idea that you should study something from every angle that you can approach it. So if, for instance, there are life forms on Earth, we need to study life forms and how they interact with the Earth. It's summer now when I'm making this video, and one of the things that I did leading up to my summer break was plant a garden, and I had to look at the relationship of the seasons of the year and how they change, and when the things would be ready to harvest, and could I put stuff out before when was the last frost, and all of these kinds of things. This is interaction with the Earth from one particular angle. And then if you also want, if you are a marine biologist, for instance, you're going to still need to have a lot of information about geography and the moon and the tides and all sorts of oceanography and hydrological, oh, I can't say it, hydrographs and hydrological information, in order to understand your craft. And so geography has something to do with every single thing that you can possibly study in this life. Somebody asked me one time, how does geography have anything to do with dentistry? She was going to be a dental hygienist, and we study rocks. One of the things that we study in geography is rocks, and the pumice is the name of the stuff that they polish your teeth with. Is essentially a sand. It comes from rocks, volcanic rock a lot of times that they polish your teeth with when you go to the dentist. And she's like, you got me, Mrs. T. So geography is holistic because it touches everything else that you could possibly study, that you could possibly be interested in. Music, for instance, music sounds different from one place to the next. I teach a cultural geography class also, and one of the last assignments that we do is about social identity, cultural identity, customs, religion, language, this kind of thing, and we look at music genres that differ from one society to the next, one place on the map to the next. And so there are anything that you're interested, literally anything that you're interested in, geography covers. And because it's so huge, we have to break it down into two different overarching categories, and those are on the board behind me here. I've got to see if I can step over Junior. He's a little bit large, so let me step over him without dying. And here we go. I think I've done it. And so on this screen over here behind me, or this whiteboard behind me on this side, you see that I have these two headings, physical and also cultural geography. And those are the names of the two courses that we offer at the University of Arkansas Pulaski Technical College, where you're enrolled today. And sometimes some colleges, instead of calling the class physical geography, sometimes you'll see environmental geography listed. That's just another name that we're kind of like transitioning to. Physical geography and geology are traditional names, and sometimes environmental geography is a word that is used, or a title that's used to talk about the same class. Just like with cultural geography, if you ever take that class, some colleges and universities call that human geography. In fact, when I teach cultural geography for the college, the title of our textbook is human geography. It says human geography, like that's the title of it. Oh, Harry's got to bark at something back there. So forgive the barking, right? Anyway. So I guess there's something in the lecture even for your dogs and cats if they're listening to it right now. But anyway, so he had to get his 2 cents in. Okay, so back to physical and cultural, the difference between physical and cultural. So this is the way we break down geography, and if you haven't already stopped the video, the kinds of things that you should be doing when you're taking notes on this stuff is you should stop the video and, give yourself a better explanation for the word holism or holistic. Like, there goes Junior okay, there he goes. Anyway. So give yourself some more information about holism and the holistic nature of geography. And the reason we are talking about physical compared to cultural geography in this introductory lecture is because geography is so huge that we have to break it down into physical geography and cultural geography. And so the physical geography looks at literally how do we describe the Earth from a standpoint of land masses, water, the atmosphere, the rocks, the geochemistry that we can study, the solar system that I mentioned. How do we study the Earth in terms of the spheres that exist? Traditionally, we say that there are 4 spheres on the Earth, and the atmosphere, of course, would include the astronomy aspect. It would include weather and climate. It would include all of of those kinds of things that we're going to study. In brief, we get to, this is kind of like a sampler platter of that over the course of the semester. The hydrosphere, this is going to be rivers or the fluvial processes. I love that chapter. And the oceans, and how does water move even within the atmosphere. Like, these things are very connected. So even within the atmosphere, when we study the atmosphere in physical geography, there are laws of physics that we attribute to and apply to weather systems and the jet stream, etc. And we look at fluid physics, for instance. The air is measured through the fluid process, just like the tides and the currents and the upwelling in the ocean. We have laws of physics that apply to those kinds of things. And the lithosphere is another one of the aspects of physical geography, and this is where we look at rocks. We look at rocks, we look at rock formations, we look at the formations of the earth, we look at the way that the earth land masses have moved over time. We look at plate tectonics and seismology, the chemistry of rocks and this kind of thing, the types of rocks. And so these are the first three spheres. And then the biosphere, since bio means focused on life, the biosphere brings a lot of environmental interaction between the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, the lithosphere, and the things that live on it, like the plants in your garden, like the algae that grows in the swimming pool, like the dogs that are barking all around me, to the bacteria and the viruses and the you and me that has to interact with all these other spheres that exist in the world, and that we have to try to understand in order to fully describe the earth, right, and understand our place within it too. This class provides to those who pay attention. This class provides to those who try and take notes and apply themselves and do their own work. This class enables you to have some basic knowledge and confidence about that knowledge. Where do you stand, literally, like with both your feet on the ground, where do you stand in relationship to the stuff, for now I'll call it stuff, going on in the world around you, from weather to climate change to transportation, to the minerals that you need, to the cell phone batteries that you have, and to the electric cars and all this kind of thing. What kind of relationship do those products have to the resources that we use in the earth to make our lives happen? And so this kind of class is very vital for you to be able to understand those relationships. And you'll find that knowing this basic information and having that kind of inquisitive mindset that this basic information hopefully will foster in you, it will mean that you are the person among your social crowd, among your group of friends and your family. You're the person that people turn to for answers, and for advice, because you have a good foundation of knowledge about just basic stuff around us that maybe they haven't had the opportunity to pause and try to understand the basics of. And so when you understand it, you'll be the wise one at the table. Okay, so that's one of the goals that we have for this class, is to make sure that we see the links between all of these things. And barking dogs, but we see the link between all of these things, and that way we have just a better understanding of how stuff, again with the word stuff, how stuff works, and where do you fit into all that stuff. Okay, so this is not a cultural geography class, but I do have the other side of this on the board. This is not a complete list either of all of the things that you would study in a cultural anthropology class, cultural geography class, but essentially you study people and populations, how do people move, you study the levels of development and industry and the economic systems and that kind of thing, political systems and the way politics work and how we measure demographics and things like this, and customs, like your textbook in the first chapter mentions like foodways or religion or holidays or clothing styles and this kind of thing. Hold on, let me see if I can get Harry. Harry, come here. Harry, you bad dog. Can you sit here and be quiet in the middle of school? Can you sit and be quiet in school, Harry? Good boy. Okay. Maybe. Okay, so the last thing that we need to do while Harry is sitting in the corner, Harry, you be a good boy, Harry. Anyway, the last thing that we need to do before we finish up with this video, if you need to take a little break, fine, but we have one more thing to do. No, Harry, don't do it. Don't do Harry. Is we want to talk about our friend, Mr. Help. And here is the time in our lecture where you maybe need to pause it and write down that Mr. Help represents 5 different things. There are 5 themes that we use in geography class. 5 different themes. And so the themes are the same for cultural geography or physical geography, but we look at them in a very, very different way. And so in a geography class, the primary thing that we ask, and you need to include this kind of thing in your notes, that Mr. Help stands for the 5 themes of geography. We'll get to what each letter represents in just a second. But what you need to do is understand the connection between the physical environment and these different themes, and the cultural landscape and these different themes, and the questions that geographers ask about life, about society, about the earth, that's different than the questions that, say, a historian asks or a sociologist asks, for instance. We in geography, we want to know why something happened, where, what specifically happened, and how it particularly happened, and how did the earth and some kind of feature of culture or the physical environment, how did that affect what an outcome was? So our main question in geography is why, where something happened. Why did that particular thing happen? Where it did. And usually it has something to do with the story that the earth tells at that particular place in time. A river, a mountain range, a hurricane, some sort of earthquake or something. There's going to be some sort of geography element to why of where. In politics, we use a lot of names of, the Geneva Convention or the Paris Accords or something like this, right? So we have a lot of geography names to represent political agreements or political treaties or, even conferences and events. And so why of where is what we try to answer in geography class, whether it's cultural geography. So if you've had me for cultural geography, you've heard me say this before, or physical geography, because the way that the spheres are composed and interact with each other has a lot to do with these 5 themes of geography. Okay, so quickly for the last topic in this video, let's get the names of each of these things so that when you hear me refer to them, when you hear me refer to the 5 themes of geography in general, you will be aware of what they all mean, and also you will see the connection between what part of the physical environment we are studying for that particular lesson and how the themes of geography relate. So Mr. Help stands for movement, and so certainly we're going to be studying a lot about movement this semester, from weather systems to plate tectonics to the tides to the currents in the ocean, etc., to taphonomy, even the way that the earth distributes and deposits things. A river comes through and floods and carries stuff away, and it deposits it someplace when the flood water moves out. And so movement is what the M stands for in Mr. Help. R stands for region, and there are different types of regions that we will study as we move forward in geography class. Predominantly the region, the way that we look at region is in this particular physical geography class, instead of like a functional region necessarily, we're going to look at the physical aspects of the place where the region encompasses, like the Mississippi Delta, right? The delta where everything kind of above sea level gets lower and lower towards sea level for the Mississippi River Valley, and it has a whole bunch of deposits of very, very rich soil, and it goes toward New Orleans from Minnesota all the way down, and it's this feature that even divided the political climate of the United States until the Louisiana Purchase, back when Thomas Jefferson was president. So regions define different physical features of a landscape where you can say that all of the land belongs in one particular conceptual region, conceptual zone, where everything is similar or has some kind of connection to each spot within it. Okay? The H and the E stand for human environmental interaction. And so, for instance, I'm on my back porch right now. It's a little bit hot, so I'm sweating a little bit. And I want to go back inside to my air conditioning here in just a second. And that air conditioning itself is something that we humans invented to interact with the climate so that our lifestyle was a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more manageable, and that kind of thing. So human environmental interaction is definitely a clear bridge between physical geography and cultural geography, where we look at how do humans interact with atmospheric aspects of the globe, hydrospheric aspects of the globe, lithospheric and biospheric aspects of the physical environment. And so human environmental interaction, how do we build if we live in a flood zone, we build our house up on stilts, or we don't have a basement, if we're up higher above sea level, we can have a basement. These different kinds of things are human environmental interaction, and that's what the H and the E of Mr. Help stands for. Location, that's the L. And that's one of the next lectures that we're going to have, is how to tell location with latitude and longitude. That's one aspect of location, is we want to know precise locations. We call it absolute locations, where you can give a latitude and longitude line. You can pin drop when you open your GPS application on your phone. You can drop a pin and it'll give you these long numbers, degrees, minutes, and seconds of where the latitude and longitudes cross. And so you have a precise pinpoint spot that you're talking about. Location works that way, but it also works in a very general sense, where you have a relative location. I want to go to the Wendy's close to Simmons Arena in North Little Rock. Okay, so if you know that particular spot that I'm talking about, there's your location for where Wendy's is. I don't have to give you a precise location like the address where I'd mail a letter or something, but I can give you just a general idea. I want to go to the library that is in North Little Rock close to the police station. There you go. There's another relative location that you can give. But in this class, we're going to really initially we're really going to study the latitude and longitude, the way those grid lines work on the globe. We'll look at some of that. And the last type is place. Place is the P of Mr. Help. These are the 5 themes of geography. Place is described by the physical characteristics, mountain ranges, rivers, plateaus, grasslands, savannas, this kind of thing. A place is described by physical characteristics or man-made characteristics of something. A dam in the middle of the river, for instance, is a man-made characteristic that can describe different places. And why are there beaches along different spots in the Arkansas River? Well, it's because of the way the dams have redirected the water, and now you have these sand deposits, for instance. And so that's a description of place. And Harry's just not going to give up. But that's a good punctuation, I think, for our last bit of information from this lecture. And so this is your introductory lecture. We covered a whole lot very, very quickly, because the whole semester we're going to go very, very slowly and look at some general overview information of each of these things. And so I will see you in the next lecture, and please replay this one if you need to go back and write some stuff. I'm actually going to ask you a question or give you a prompt that you can take the option of using the prompt that I suggest for your reflection journal this week if you want to, but you can always come up with your own. But I'm going to prompt you about something having to do with these 4 aspects of physical geography that I have on the board here. Anyway, so I will watch the next videos and look for that prompt from me, and post stuff in the discussion board if you have questions. Text me if you have questions, and I will see you next time. Bye.